federal judge declining to unseal grand jury transcripts from the criminal investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm guest host Chow Win. We'll also discuss Houston Mayor John Whitmire announcing the HPD's new Crime Protection Team Club Unit, which issued over 100 citations at local bars and clubs, which led to 5 closures.
Plus, we'll also discuss the rise of COVID-19 cases across most of the country with Professor of Infectious Disease and epidemiologist Dr. Catherine Troisi.
And as Ernie and I discuss the top headlines of the day, we want to hear your thoughts, questions, and concerns. Give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners
NPR
like
News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The quest for information about Jeffrey Epstein is increasingly focusing on the late financier's close associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, the only person serving time in prison in connection with the sex trafficking investigation into Epstein. Members of Congress want her subpoenaed. The DOJ also wants answers. NPR's Domenico Montanaro reports on the politics surrounding GOP and Democratic pressure on the Trump White House to release everything the government has on Epstein, all amplified by a Wall Street Journal story.
The story says that Attorney General Pam Bondi and her deputy, who told the president his name was in the files multiple times, said they felt that those files contained, quote, unverified hearsay. That might help explain how Trump has talked about this for more than a year. Here he was last week in the Oval Office when asked about whether he wants Bondi to release all of the files.
Whatever's credible, she can release. If a document is credible, if a document's there that is credible, she can release. I think it's good.
NPR's Domenico Montanaro filed that story. Columbia University will pay more than $200 million to the federal government to resolve multiple federal investigations. The settlement will restore access to billions of dollars in federal funding. That includes unfreezing grants and opening opportunities for future research. Here's NPR's Alyssa Nadwarny.
The university's acting president, Claire Shipman, released some of the details of the agreement in a statement, which stems from allegations by the Trump administration that the school fostered anti-Semitism on campus. Shipman said the settlement would address concerns about admissions and hiring, though she didn't provide details. And future disputes will go to an independent monitor and arbitrator, functioning as neutral third parties. She did make it very clear in her statement that Columbia will retain control over its academic and operational decisions. On Truth Social, President Trump thanked Columbia for, quote, agreeing to do what is right. He went on to say that settlements with other higher education institutions are upcoming. Alyssa Nadwarny, NPR News.
Investors are processing 2 very different reports from big tech companies as Tesla stock plummets and Google soars. NPR's Maria Aspen with more.
Tesla's rocky year is getting worse. Elon Musk's electric car maker says its quarterly profits dropped 16% as sales continue to fall. It was Tesla's first earnings report since Musk left his controversial role in the federal government. But Google is having a much better year. Parent company Alphabet reported profit and revenue that beat analysts' expectations. Now it's planning to spend an additional $10 billion this year on capital expenditures, including AI.
That's NPR's Maria Aspen reporting. The Dow is down 171 points. The S&P's gained 14. The Nasdaq is up 44. It's NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. The latest survey from the University of Houston Hobby School of Public Affairs shows that former Houston Mayor Annise Parker leads the field in the 2026 Democratic primary for Harris County Judge. Our Sarah Gruno reports.
The favorable rating from voters comes more than a month after Parker announced her bid in the 2026 election. Other candidates for the position, including incumbent Judge Lena Hidalgo and Houston City Council member Letitia Plummer, each received a 2% net favorability for the position. According to the survey, Hidalgo overall received the lowest net approval rating based on job performance of any elected Harris County official, including all county commissioners, District Attorney Sean Tier, and County Attorney Christian Menifee. Hidalgo still has not announced whether she intends to seek re-election. Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, who has continuously ranked favorably with survey respondents over the years, topped the ranks again. 55% of registered voters approve of Gonzalez's performance in office. I'm Sarah Gruno, News 88.7.
Undocumented students who otherwise would have received in-state college tuition are now facing higher costs to attend universities and colleges across the state. That's after a federal judge last month blocked the Texas DREAM Act, which allowed undocumented students to pay in-state tuition. Juan Martinez Guevara is with United We Dream.
This wrongful and undemocratic repeal of the law is now being pushed as a blueprint to undemocratically end in-state tuition, militarize college campuses, and persecute students.
According to the President's Alliance on Higher Education and Immigration, there are approximately 57,000 undocumented Texas students enrolled in public colleges and universities. Roughly 40 people have been displaced after a fire burned through the roof of a Houston area apartment complex last night. 16 units were left without electricity in the two-story building near Hobby Airport. Multiple outlets report that nobody was taken to the hospital. The cause remains under investigation. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Charles Schwab, offering investors choices like full-service wealth management, advice, investing, and trading on Thinkorswim. Learn more at schwab.com. And from the Doris Duke Foundation.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
And hello. Okay, we're playing shuffle again here in the host chairs. So Ernie Manous, me, I'm here. My compatriots have both taken the day off, but fear not, Chowin has decided she'd come back for a second day. I guess we didn't scare you off yesterday.
I was having so much fun. And hey, it's summer, it's a summer break for your colleagues.
It is. I've been taking a lot of breaks, but we talk about this on the show. I've been here at the station for almost 30 years. And so you get lots of vacation time after that many years. And then it's like, if you don't use it, you lose it.
I remember those days.
And while we were launching this show, I didn't take any time off because we were launching the show. So now I'm at the end here, so I'm doing a lot of it. But it's nice to be here when they get a little time off themselves.
That's right. That'll be your turn in no time.
It will be. Actually, next week again, I'll take some time off. If you would like to see the two of us hosting the show today, it's very easy to do. We're live on YouTube, youtube.com/Houston Public Media. On that channel, you can find us. Remember, throughout the day, Chow and I would love to hear from you. Any of the topics, any of the things we're chatting about, why not join in the conversation? 713-440-8870. That's 713-440-8870. You can text or call or email us, talk@hellohouston.org. How's that? That's all the information I've got to give.
Yeah, we want to hear from your listeners.
We do.
Viewers.
I'm not going to ask you about the weather because I usually ask Frank about the weather at this point, unless you want to give a report.
Hot and humid is when I stepped out this morning.
Yeah.
I think it's going to stay that way. How about that?
I think so. I saw some, we'd been talking with Frank about the weather, and he was saying, it's been a pretty mild summer so far. Even though it's been hot, it hasn't been ridiculously hot. And then this morning I saw some maps on TV where they had the big red, and it was in the 100s, at least the way it felt. So I think it's going to be kind of hot.
Yeah. Get those air conditioners handy, right?
And there's nothing worse, I think, than having a summer cold, or even worse, how about summer COVID? There's a lot of COVID back out there. We're going to be talking about that later in the show today. Dr. Catherine Troisi, who spent a lot of time with us when we did Town Square, she'll be with us to tell us what's going on out there. A lot of people, we had a bout of it in my house, my mom, her caregivers, me, we all got it, and we got over it. It's more mild than it was a few years back, but keep an eye out for that.
I'm going to knock on wood. We haven't had it in our household.
Through this whole time?
No, not us. Lucky. I have 2 teenage daughters at home, camp, back and forth. Again, knock on wood.
I want an infusion of your blood before the show is over. Sad news is just coming across the line. Then we'll get into the headlines. Wrestling legend Hulk Hogan passed away at 71 years old. We're just learning from TMZ Sports. Medics were dispatched to the 71-year-old WWE icon's Clearwater, Florida home early Thursday morning. This morning, the operator stating that it was regarding a cardiac arrest.
Hulk Hogan was larger than life, wasn't he? How
So
do you
true.
forget that? I mean, not only in wrestling, but his dabble in politics, in the public eye. He's somewhat of an icon, I think, in Hollywood
definitely.
and in our
That's
American...
funny. When I think of Hulk Hogan, all I think is ripping your shirt off. And you're in luck. I'm not ripping my shirt off.
No.
If you have a Hulk Hogan story or want to remember the wrestling legend, give us a call, 713-440-8870. It's always sad. There, and I guess this was the third in the list of 3 celebrity passing away.
That's right.
And so, unfortunately, that resets the dial again. We start over. Anyway, let's move on to the topics of the day. Get into the show. Remember, throughout the show, if you want to give us a call, 713-440-8870. Okay, Chow, take us away. What's our first story?
Well, we're still talking about that Florida federal judge just yesterday declined to reach and release additional grand jury documents from that investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. He is dead, but the story is very much alive. This is the first roadblock in the Justice Department's efforts to quell the public backlash over the handling of that case. Now, Judge Robin Rosenberg said in her ruling that because the Justice Department had requested the sealed evidence to be released due to extensive public interest and not as part of a judicial proceeding, the standard usually applied by judges in such cases, her hands, she says, are tied. Now, this is facing intensifying criticism from bipartisan lawmakers, members of the public, including some of Donald Trump's most ardent supporters. The president last week calling for Attorney General Pam Bondi to file court motions pursuing the release of the heretofore secret evidence. However, the grand jury testimony that the department seeks to release is just a small portion of the thousands of documents related to the Epstein investigation and the criminal case. And of course, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this Epstein case? I mean, we're hearing a lot in the public right now. Will these grand jury documents be released? Are we going to hear more about Trump's involvement with Epstein? Call us, 713-440-8870. You know, I got to say, Ernie, it's all those pictures, the photos of Trump with Epstein and Melania Trump from those early 2000s days that stick in my mind. Mm-hmm. They did have a relationship. And what was that relationship? Right?
Absolutely, they were friends, and there's no denying that. What I think is fascinating in this particular headline of it is oftentimes, and I don't want to come down partisan on this. I want to come down on truth and fact on this. The Justice Department and the White House has to know that a judge cannot really give out grand jury testimony. They cannot release it without very specific rules to it. So the way they went about it saying, well, we're going to petition them to release, they knew it couldn't be released. It had to have been. So it has to be a show. It wasn't a true search. So anyone that's saying, hey, he tried to get that released. If he wanted them released, they can release what they have. They have the ability to do it. There is a lot going on this. There's obviously stuff in there they don't want released.
And I think the news that the Wall Street Journal released that Bondi had already told Trump back in May that you're involved or your name is mentioned several times mm-hmm. in these files, yet Trump said as recently as this month, oh, I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
That's very suspicious.
Yeah, I don't care where you fall on the political spectrum when it comes to your thoughts and feelings on issues and concerns that we have as a country. And I love to hear all of them. My problem is blatant lying to the American people, regardless of which party does it. Mm-hmm. There are ways to say you're not talking about something. There's ways to remove yourself from something. But it's the lying. And I think the bigger problem I have with the lying is it chips away at the belief in our government. Mm-hmm. And so when that seat, no matter who's sitting in it, says something, we as the people of this country have to be able to put faith in what they're saying is truthful. Because oftentimes the things that come from that office are of paramount importance to us. They deal with life and death situations, with wars, with great concerns. We have to have trust in our government. And I feel that's what the problem is here. If there's no trust. I will go on to say they did we talked with this a little bit yesterday with Sylvia Garcia about how they put the government, the House of Representatives went on their break a little early, so they didn't have to vote on this. But a flurry of Democratic amendments were offered in committees yesterday, and a motion by Representative Summer Lee, a Democrat of Pennsylvania, to compel the Justice Department to release files tied to Epstein was approved in the House Oversight Subcommittee. A committee spokesperson later said the subpoena will be issued, but did not provide the timing on that. And I want to let you know that that was the report that came in on that. So there is movement. There is subpoenas going out. They didn't squelch that from happening. But we'll see what's next.
Well, and I also think this is an opportunity for Democrats to say, see, here it goes again. We have an opportunity to expose Trump supposedly for what he is. And so this story is going to stay in the media. It's going to stay in the public eye for a while.
There is also a very good chance, just because you are friends with someone for a period of time does not mean you engage in all of their negative behavior. I'm sure there are things my close friends do that I have no idea about. And especially when it gets into the salacious realm of sexual proclivities, there's oftentimes you don't know what people do.
Well,
so that's not, you can't just have guilt by association.
That is true, but given the president's history with sexual assault, with saying inappropriate things, misogynist, recorded conversations that he had with Billy Bush back in the day, I think it lends itself to say, well, he's got a little background when it comes to his behavior.
I agree with you in the realm that it is concerning the pattern of behavior. Mm-hmm. But again, that doesn't necessarily prove guilt.
No.
And so we have no idea what's in these files. And when they come out, what's redacted, we have no idea what will have been removed from it. The part that bothers me the most in this whole story, and then we can move on from it, there were victims. There were hundreds, if not thousands, of young women and girls trafficked by these two individuals, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. There are victims in this. And I think we're getting so lost in the tabloidness of it that we forget lives were damaged and harmed. Why we haven't heard more from the victims is up to speculation. But there were crimes committed. And that's why this is more than just why are people ragging on this? There were crimes. And we as a society have to protect the youngest and most vulnerable in our society.
Ernie, I so appreciate you saying that. As you know, I work as a trauma therapist as well, and we support sexual assault survivors. I've been a therapist to a number of human trafficking survivors too, and the trauma they endure, the struggles they endure are very real, and so sometimes those voices aren't heard, and their pain, isn't for display in the public domain. But in this case, there was a lot of harm and injury that was done to so many victims in this case. So, yes, we're putting a spotlight on the investigation. There's politicizing in this case, but lest we forget that survivors were harmed.
Right. And so regardless of all the rest of it, there are victims, and they should find they never get made whole. But there should be that opportunity to have justice served in that. And in no way am I saying who did anything or what they did, but somebody did something, and there needs to be more. Two people went to prison for this. There had to have been a crime. And
Maxwell is back in the headlines again.
She is actually meeting with the Justice Department today, as I understand, with a lawyer that was Donald Trump's personal attorney. I think, and back to what I was saying at the top of this, I promised we were going to move on, but I'm going to hit this one more point, is that, the trust you have to have in an administration, because already the chatter is, can you trust what they're going to report was said? Can you trust what's happening in there? I think trust is at an all-time low, and we've got to bring that back.
I know.
If anything else.
Public confidence in our leaders is Congress, the president. It is at an all-time. The polls say it all.
Candidates out there, if you're trustworthy, run for office, regardless of what party you run for. Bring bring honesty and trust back to our government. That's what I want. Okay, if you have a thought and opinion on this, 713-440-8870. We're curious what you think, how you feel about this, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. You can text or call. Again, 713-440-8870. Next.
Well, I'll tell you, trust in local government is something I believe, because we have a new administration here who has promised to deliver transparency and accountability. We're talking about Houston Mayor John Whitmire to our communities. I feel much better knowing that as opposed to what's going on in the national scene. Well, this week he actually announced this new crime protection team. It's called Club Unit. And they went out to the Washington corridor in, the near downtown area where Rice Military, all those neighborhoods are. They went to local bars and clubs. They did a 3-day sort of survey of this area, and they closed 5 clubs. They're really addressing issues such as noise complaints, traffic disruptions. You're looking at DUIs, those kinds of things, and then illegal activities. So this new police unit, the Whitmire, and actually the mayor announced on social media that it's really to help ensure compliance from local bars. Those locations that were closed temporarily are along Washington Avenue, which has long been an area for nightlife and problems. I mean, if you talk to the neighbors in Rice Military, and then they have Facebook groups. I used to live there. It can be very dangerous to go out past 10 o'clock along Washington. So this is a part of an initiative from the mayor to say, let's keep our streets and our communities safe. And the club unit is going to be one of other initiatives to keep our communities safe. And we wonder from our viewers and our listeners, is this needed? Is it not? And look, I don't know the last time I was at a nightclub. I'm a parent now, and teenage children. But
are we aging out?
Yes, but I do remember those times. And look, young people deserve to go out, and they deserve to be safe. In their communities at these areas. So give us a call at 713-440-8870 and tell us what you think about it.
Yeah, my only concern is that they are targeting certain areas and not a more wide berth of what they're looking at in that regard. Hopefully they are. Give us your calls, your thoughts, 713-440-8870. I have not been out to a club in a long time myself either. Not from lack of wanting to, but life gets in the way sometimes.
Dinner and clubs for me. Happy hour starts at like 4, so.
Well, we always encourage your participation in the conversation. Mark from Sugar Land just gave us a call at 713-440-8870 to talk about the Epstein files. Mark, what's on your mind?
Well, I agree with your comment that you really can be close friends with someone without knowing what they're doing privately. But when you have a close friend and you throw a party for all women models at your own resort, and you have dozens and dozens of women, and the only 2 men at the party are Donald Trump and Epstein, you can tell what it is that they share in their friendship. And although it doesn't prove anything either, it certainly does raise a lot of questions about what these 2 men enjoyed together. They throw parties.
Absolutely agree with you. It's just what I try to make sure we do is that until there are facts to support some sort of certain behavior, I think we all assume certain things, and I think that's absolutely fine. That's how we function in this world. But we have to be careful when it's something of this level not to jump ahead of it. And but yeah, there's the old saying that I heard growing up, where there's smoke, there's fire. So yeah, Mark, I hear you.
The other expression I think about is, you are the company you keep.
Yeah. My aunt used to say, show me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are, which I thought is an interesting one. Mark, what do you think should happen here?
Tell you what, it's very obvious to me that he doesn't want anybody talking about it. Usually a cover-up is worse than the evidence, but he continues to cover up and doesn't want, even calling it a hoax. I think we all know it's not a hoax. And at least without any forthcoming on any agreeing that anything even happened or was, and then always deflects also. It's always, Obama or, Hillary. The day he quits talking about Hillary and Obama, I think we can start listening to maybe some facts about what he's really doing. But he doesn't want to share anything about the entire episode. So that's we won't know ever, probably, especially when, his, like you say, his personal attorney is the one who's going to do an interview. Seems like a conflict of interest at that
Mark,
point.
thank you very much for your comments and your thoughts on that. The number here, 713-440-8870. Just to tag on the end of that, that was the part that was problematic to me when they were talking to Trump at, I think it was a cabinet meeting, and they were doing the presser with it. And he was like, oh, are they still talking about Epstein? Well, yeah, there were crimes committed here. We should be talking about it until we have answers to what happened to people. I just thought that was a bit dismissive considering how significant, and you, I mean, Chow, just knowing the work you do, it must be hard for victims of things like this to see this dismissive attitude.
Yeah, they victims, from what I can see, is they want two things. They want to heal from their trauma, and they want accountability and justice. Yeah. And this is part of that.
Yeah. 713-440-8870. Alvin from the 3rd Ward is on the line. Alvin, what are you thinking? Alvin, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now. Thank you.
Okay, so what the deal is that, so he's known since May. The Justice Department told him that he was in the files. So therefore, every time he's been asked about it since then, we know that that's been lies. And we know that Pam Bondi's saying that the files were on her desk. Well, then even their own base are mad at her because of that. The problem that he is having right now is that there's no easy way out. If he releases the files, then we see that he's in them, and then if he continues to obstruct as he's doing, it looks even more suspicious. And the problem here is that the only person that's actually been in jail for any of this is a woman.
Well, I mean, Epstein was in jail, and that didn't end well for him. But yes, there have only been 2 people that, as well as I know, that have been prosecuted for this and sentenced, and they are the ones that are spending time for it. But there seemed like there were an awful lot of victims for just 2 people to have taken care of.
For sure.
So, Alvin, thank you very much for those thoughts. I appreciate it. 713-440-8870. We also were talking about this ordinance on clubs and the club unit, and Robert's on the phone from Kingwood with his thoughts on that. Robert, what's on your mind?
Well, I could talk on either topic, but both topics really. But on the clubs, it's about time. What people don't really truly realize. I lived in the Heights for 26 years, and I moved out because of the violence and what's going on. But basically, that whole area is high density housing, all the way from Shepherd all the way to the Rice Military, and there's no parking because homes don't have a private driveway; they share a driveway. And so the streets are already clogged up with residential parking, and then Washington Boulevard, when it gets cranked up, it's a hazard. It's a safety hazard. So I understand why the city is tackling that area first, but they need to expand to include other areas, especially what's the call when these people are now drag racing at 10 o'clock or Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, and they're just tearing up the streets and making all kinds of noise. And that's happening all over Houston. If you would expand that to crack down on some of that activity as well, that would be fantastic. But on the Epstein, real quick, everything comes down to Mar-a-Lago, and everything comes down to the spa in Mar-a-Lago. If you do any bit of research, Epstein owned property there. Trump bought the property, then he converted it to a private club. When he converted to a private club, he threw in a spa. Maxwell, his girlfriend, guess where he was recruiting most of the 14-year-old girls from? The spa in Mar-a-Lago. So there's a reason why Trump's name is all over the files. Just do a little bit of research and you'll find that out.
Robert, thank you for your comments. I have a funny feeling this story is going to be alive for a while, and we'll be talking about it more. And Robert, since you can talk on any topic, if you ever want to fill in when I have to take the day off, please feel free. We're always looking for someone who can talk about anything. Thank you, Robert from Kingwood. We are going to take a quick break now. Coming up after the break, we are going to talk with Dr. Catherine Troisi, infectious disease expert and epidemiologist, find out what's happening in the world around us. This is Hello Houston on News 88.7. We'll be right back. Federal support for public media has been cut, and Houston Public Media is taking a proactive step forward. The Resiliency Fund is our way to ensure this service remains strong, stable, and supported by our community. Your gift today helps us continue bringing you trusted news and thoughtful programs in the future. and for years to come. So give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate. I'm Ernie Manous here with Chow Win.
Well, with $2.2 million in annual federal support for Houston Public Media now cut, the Resiliency Fund makes sure we can keep delivering the content you trust without pause. That includes more than 15 hours each week of Houston-based reporting and programs designed to keep you connected and informed. Your support today protects these programs and ensures they stay strong for everyone in our community. So join us by giving now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
You listen to us because you understand that public media is different. We're here to inform, inspire, and serve our community, and we depend on your support to do it. Now, with federal funding eliminated, your support through the Resiliency Fund is essential to keep this service strong. If you value the journalism, the stories, the impact that you hear here day in and day out, make your gift now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or give us a call, 888-909-0887.
And if you've never donated before, well, here's why now matters. Your first gift doesn't just support the programs you love, it actually helps ensure that they are here for everyone, especially in a time of federal funding cuts. Becoming a new member of Houston Public Media today starts with one gift at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or by calling 888-909-0887.
You know, listeners like you are the reason Houston Public Media and Hello Houston continues to serve our community. Here's what one of our supporters had to say when they made their donation. Oh, I feel embarrassed reading it because it's a positive thing about us. A shout out to Hello Houston for excellent, relevant topics and interviews. A great rapport among the three co-hosts. By the way, I now rely on Frank Billingsley for the weather forecast, this donor says. I'm sure Frank would say, where were you for the last 35 years I was given what? But yes, we love having Frank here. That's what our show is about, being here for you with all the information you rely on, including Frank's weather forecast. So give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
And you can make a gift that just works for you, whatever that amount may be. Many of our supporters give $5 or $10 a month, while others make a one-time donation. What all of our donors have in common is that their public support keeps public media strong. So join our members and make your gift right now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate and call 888-909-0887.
It's your support that fuels Houston Public Media's mission to inform, inspire, and engage all Houstonians with independent local journalism and storytelling, wherever and whenever they tune in. The Resiliency Fund helps us sustain this mission and move toward our vision of a community connected through public media. Public media is vital to getting truthful information out to our community, regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, regardless where you are socioeconomically. So give now, houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Okay, and when...
I'm Josh Adams, the new general manager of Houston Public Media, and we are here for one reason, you. I'm thrilled to lead this remarkable team dedicated to our mission of informing, educating, and inspiring everyone in the greater Houston area. And yes, these are challenging times, but together we'll meet them head on with bold ideas, honest reporting, and stories that matter. Houston Public Media is your public media. Together, let's make it incredible.
On the next Living on Earth, federal actions and censorship at national parks.
You're taking what is a rich and complex past and reducing it to a kind of false narrative about who we are. And that really doesn't do the national parks or the American people any favors.
I'm Ainsley O'Neill, protecting America's history. That's next time on Living on Earth from PRX.
You can listen to that Saturday night at 10 o'clock.
I'm Christopher Kimball from Milk Street Radio. Matt Goulding once found himself in a major food controversy.
I got taken to task, I will be honest with you.
All because he'd written an article about paella.
Some guy challenged me to like a physical fight over this, honestly.
Find out what happens when you meet the paella police. That's coming up this week on Milk Street Radio from PRX.
Milk Street is on Sunday night at 1 o'clock.
Support comes from UTHealth Houston, home to maternal fetal specialist Dr. Jerry Refuerzo, who helps keep moms and babies healthy and safe through high-risk pregnancies and births. More at uth.edu/manyfaces.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Houston Public Works. Watering a lawn in the early morning or evening will reduce evaporation, and no more than twice a week. It's a simple way to conserve water and keep a lawn healthy. More at givewaterabreak.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous and guest host Chow Wen.
Well, COVID-19 cases appear to be on the rise across most of the country, leaving many to wonder whether we're experiencing a summer surge. According to the CDC, cases are either growing or likely growing in 27 states, and that includes right here in the state of Texas, with NB181 or Nimbus being the current dominant variant in the U.S. This variant, which has been known to cause painful sore throats nicknamed razor blade throat, is estimated by the CDC to make up 43% of all new cases. Now, joining us to tell us more about this and how we can best prepare ourselves is our friend here, Dr. Catherine Troisi. She is a professor of infectious disease and an epidemiologist. Dr. Troisi, welcome back to Hello Houston.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you here as we have this conversation. If you have questions about infectious disease, vaccinations, about COVID, give us a call at 713-440-8870. Something you're very accustomed to doing with us is taking calls from our listeners.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Some of our listeners know, we had a rash of COVID move through my house, and nothing makes a story more real to someone than when it involves them. So my mom, 90 years old, seems to have a cold, goes on a little too long. So we take her to the doctor, tested, it's COVID. Her caregiver has a cold, it's COVID. I'm getting sick. I test 3 days in a row, all negative, 4th day positive. I had COVID too. This was in the middle of the summer. We've stayed up on our vaccines for the most part. Kind of missed it for maybe we're waiting for the new September one to come out. We'll talk about that a little bit, vaccine. But we probably waited too long, didn't we, to get vaccinated again?
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
But welcome to COVID. The virus changes. And so as we heard, there's a new variant out there. Luckily, it doesn't seem to, the previous antibodies you have seem to protect you against this new variant, but not as well as it might. So if it has been a while since you got vaccinated, that could be part of it. But it also just maybe this new variant escaped your immune system.
It was not horrific. I had COVID once before, back in the days of COVID. But it was very irritating. It was very much, and in the moment, I'm a baby, so it was like, that's the worst thing that's ever happened to me. How do I go on?
Because you're a man.
Because I'm a man, right? But I felt like it was more mild, ultimately. And my mom, except for looking like she had a cold, slid right through it. Very little problem. So is it less severe than the other COVIDs we've seen? Is it that we have just built up these immunities? What do you see as the reasoning?
Yeah, it doesn't look like this variant differs in the clinical symptoms. And the reason that you weren't as sick is probably because you had built up immunity. But it's also the case that even with an initial infection, I've had COVID once, and I think it was after I had been vaccinated. But really, it was nothing. A cold would be worse than what I had. So some of it just depends on your body too at the time.
So Dr. Troisi, I'm curious. There might be a lot of people who have COVID, feel this kind of scratchy throat, and maybe did not get diagnosed.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so one of the ways we can tell what's happening in the community is through wastewater testing. You know, it used to be back when we had home test. Well, when you had to go to get tested, we had more accurate counts. Then we got home testing, and people may or may not have tested positive, but they weren't reporting that to the health department. In fact, when I had COVID, I tried to report it. I couldn't take anybody, and I know people at health departments. They didn't care. And so now a lot of people aren't even testing. But through looking at wastewater for what we find in it, we can see what's happening in a community, regardless of individuals testing.
And are we seeing that?
Yes, we are seeing a rise in the wastewater in the Houston area. It's not dramatic, but we are seeing a rise.
I am curious also. I took a COVID test. As I said, I took 3 before I took one that came up positive. I know enough about this from the years we did this on the radio together, Doc, that I knew the symptoms and I knew I had it, even though it wasn't testing it. I'm wondering how many people will test early, will decide, oh, I don't have it, and they move on with their life. How long should you wait from the onset of symptoms? I knew I had a runny nose and a sore throat, and I was feeling more tired than I usually do. So I kept testing. But what should be the gauge?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. And you're right. A lot of people will test once and it's negative and they think, oh, it's not COVID, it's a cold, or it's allergies, or it's one of the many other viruses that can cause those types of symptoms. And I think that because COVID tests are no longer free, and I don't know how much you paid for yours, but they're not, super cheap. They're not $1 a piece.
I borrowed them from all my friends who had them, so
okay.
I paid nothing
All
for
right.
them.
Well, had you gone to a drugstore, so that I think the incentive to keep testing is probably low, because,
But does it matter? Should you test? Because what are you going to do differently unless you have Paxlovid?
Right.
What else are you going to do?
Exactly, except protect people around you. But maybe you should be doing that anyways, no matter what virus you have that's causing those symptoms. However, if you're at higher risk, you can take, as you said, Paxlovid, which will shorten the duration of your symptoms.
Okay, I know you're not an MD, but
Thank
you
you.
know all
Thank
the
you
other
for saying
answers
that.
to everything else we asked. And this one always confuses me. It confused me when we were on the air doing Town Square. It confused me when I was sick this time. I did have Paxlovid because I had thought I had COVID before, so I got a prescription for it. Turned out I didn't have it, so I never used it. I knew I wasn't feeling well, and I kept trying to read, when should I start taking Paxlovid? And what I kept seeing was at the onset of symptoms or when you first test positive. Well, I had symptoms, but I hadn't tested positive, so I didn't know if it was it or not. When should you take, if you know this, Paxlovid?
Yeah, that's a good question because you don't want to take it if you don't have
Right.
to. And
Leaves a bitter taste in your mouth.
Oh,
it does.
the tin
Yeah, it's an
mouth
awful
is
taste.
terrible.
The only good thing is it goes away as soon as you stop taking it.
Yes.
It doesn't linger. But you also should take it within a couple days of getting infected. If you don't test positive till you were on day 4 or 5.
Right.
I don't know. It's a call. And I think, again, you have to weigh, do you have underlying health conditions, which includes being older than 65? That if it truly were COVID, are you at higher risk of more severe symptoms? And in that case, it might be worth taking it when you think that you have COVID.
Always check with your medical professional and get their
Absolutely.
advice because each of us is individual and different. If you have a question or comment and would like to join the conversation, 713-440-8870. We had a text that came in and it said, my mom died from COVID. She spent 5 weeks in the hospital before she passed. Important to remember, and we talk about this from time to time, and first of all, of course, our sympathy out to your mom, is that this really was a severe, severe pandemic that was sweeping the globe. I think in hindsight, we look back and say, oh, everyone locked down and it caused so many problems. People were dying. The death rate is much lower, but people still do die from this today.
They certainly do. And, we lost over 1 million people just in the United States. It's interesting, after the 1918 pandemic, which was the last really bad pandemic we had, that people forgot about it. They didn't want to talk about it. It was really just not out there. And I think we're seeing that a little bit with COVID. Now, the difference is we're still seeing COVID around, but it's so easy to forget how bad it was in the midst of the pandemic.
And still is bad if people are still dying.
If we forget and stop doing what we have done to this point, can we see a resurgence of it like we had before? Or are we in a different place now with tools and what we know?
Yeah, we're in a different place with COVID because that was something nobody had immunity to. And now we all do, either because we've been vaccinated and or we've had COVID. So we are unlikely to see, what we saw at the beginning in 2020 where a lot of people were sick and dying.
I think there seems to be a little bit of a letting off of the vaccine. Even going to our pediatrician's office, my 2 teenage daughters, in the last year, they did not recommend COVID vaccines. They don't require it at the schools anymore. Do you think that's a judicious step, or is it just because we know so much more about COVID and, like you said, it's more prevalent and we develop immunities?
Yeah, well, part of the confusion right now is that we're getting information from the federal government and different information from CDC. If you go on CDC's webpage, they are still recommending the vaccine for everybody, particularly those at risk, over 65, underlying medical condition, asthma, heart disease, lung disease, things like that, or immunocompromised and pregnant women. Now, that's not what we're hearing from the Health and Human Services Secretary. Mm-hmm. So that's part of the confusion. Also, because these recommendations may change, you may have talked about the ACIP at some point and all the confusion that's happening there. This is the committee of experts that make recommendations about what vaccines should be recommended. And once they're recommended, the Affordable Care Act says they have to be provided free. And because there are concerns, the ACIP is going to change their recommendations for this new vaccine coming out in the fall. It's not a new vaccine, it's a tweaked vaccine to protect you a little bit better against variants that are out there. There are some concerns that unless you fall into conditions, again, older age, pregnant women, they are definitely at high risk, unclear whether the vaccine is going to be recommended for them. Anyway, your insurance company may not pay it. And it can cost $140. Now, we have not seen a lot of people getting vaccinated anyways when the vaccine was free. My guess would be the rates would go down if you actually had to pay for it.
Quick question about the new vaccine that's coming. And this was a game we were playing at my house, and we lost that hand. It was knowing that the new vaccine was coming in maybe September. We hadn't gotten and I had looked, and it's been a year since we had gotten our vaccines. I say weeks, I'm looking for my mom too. And I thought, we'll wait a couple months and we'll get it when the new one's out. And then we got hit with COVID. What's your recommendation from understanding the science and people that are trying to keep up on their vaccines? Do you wait till the new one, or should you get it now?
It depends on your situation. If you are at high risk, and again, I mentioned those over 65, underlying medical condition, pregnant, immunocompromised for some other reason, that and the fact that we're seeing cases rise in Texas. I'm sure you have listeners around the country, so look where you live and see what cases are doing. But it is 27 states right now, as you said. Then maybe you get it now, and you can still get the updated vaccine later on.
Okay. We have a call, 713-440-8870. It is Jennifer from League City. You'll have to pop on your headphones to hear Jennifer. And Jennifer, as soon as Dr. Troisi is connected, okay, what's on your mind today?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. I just wanted to call in as someone who got the razor blade throat version of COVID. It was horrible. I got it back in December. In fact, we had a COVID Christmas because of it. And it was bad.
I feel your pain.
Do you have any idea, Jennifer, where you got it from?
I do not. At the time, I was working in an organization doing outreach, so I was around the public a lot. Mm-hmm. So it could have been in many different areas.
Jennifer, before we wrap up with you too, I had a sore throat, and it was scratchy and hard to swallow, and it was bothersome. I also get post-nasal drip. Too much information, sorry. So I'm used to that dry back of the throat where it just hurts to swallow. Whenever I get a cold, it's really bad. So I wasn't sure if it was just the post-nasal or the razor throat. Could you differentiate between it just being a bad sore throat and what the razor felt like?
Yes, 100%. I literally felt like somebody was stabbing me in the throat every time I swallowed. So, and it didn't. I actually thought it was strep throat because even when I was drinking water, I still was getting that feeling. And I've had strep throat before, so when I went to the doctor, that's what I thought they were going to tell me that I had, but it turned out to be COVID.
Well, Jennifer, I'm sorry. I'm from hearing what you're saying, I'm guessing I didn't have the razor throat. I just was having trouble with my regular nasal problems. But it is not fun, was it, Jen?
No, it wasn't fun at all. And I was very lucky. I got in early enough that I did get on Paxlovid.
Yep.
And my husband had COVID at the same time. He did not have the throat issue. He did not go on Paxlovid, and I got better quicker.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. Sorry you had to go through it, but thank you for sharing that with us. If you've got a question you'd like to ask or share a story with us, 713-440-8870. Cosme Garcia wrote, is there a central dashboard where we can monitor cases in Houston or Harris County?
Yes, if you go to the Houston Health Department website, and if you Google Houston Health Department, it will come up. I don't have it memorized. Sorry. You can look at their dashboard that will give you information both about wastewater, what we're seeing in the wastewater, and cases. We haven't seen a big increase in hospitalized cases, which is good. But last year, the peak came in August, so, we'll see what happens.
There's a lot of other things I want to ask you about. We have timed out on this segment. We always appreciate having you in. I know you're busy for the next few weeks, but will you come back and join us again soon?
Absolutely.
Stay healthy.
Thank you, Dr. Troisi. Always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Dr. Troisi is an epidemiologist and professor of infectious disease and a regular guest here at News 88.7.
All right, coming up, we're going to continue to dive into today's top stories. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
When you're a gambler, not a weekend card player, not an occasional fantasy sports bra, but a gambler with everything on the line, the scariest thing is the sure thing. On the next Snap Judgment, winning colors. Snap Judgment, storytelling with the beat. Do not miss it.
You can hear it. It's coming up Saturday at 8 p.m.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Houston Public Library Foundation, opening doors to discovery this summer through educational programs, books, and digital tools for everyone. More at HoustonLibraryFoundation.org. Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8, a night of mystery and intrigue with Father Brown at 7, followed by the Sister Boniface Mysteries at 8 and Death in Paradise at 9. Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8 or stream online. Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Houston Grand Opera, presenting their 25-26 season with Humperdinck's Hansel and Gretel and Rossini's comedy The Barber of Seville. Subscriptions and more at hgo.org. Support comes from Stages, presenting Honky Tonk Laundry, a musical comedy about two women transforming a laundromat into the town's hottest honky tonk, set to songs by Dolly Parton, Carrie Underwood, and more. July 25th through August 17th. StagesHouston.com.
Public media belongs to all of us, but it relies on listener support. We learned last Friday that federal funding for public media had been cut, including the funds that make up 10% of Houston Public Media's annual budget. That's why we launched the Resiliency Fund to keep our essential local and national service strong. Now is your moment to protect what matters to you. Support the Resiliency Fund at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or give us a call. 888-909-0887. I'm Ernie Manous here with Cha Nguyen.
Houston Public Media exists to serve, bringing you journalism, education, and cultural programming that is free and accessible to everyone. With $2.2 million annually in federal support now gone for Houston Public Media, we are asking our community to stand with us. The Resiliency Fund ensures we continue providing over 15 hours of local content each week, along with the NPR programming you rely on. Join us at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
You may be asking yourself, why should I give? Well, first of all, you're here. You're listening right now to News 88.7 because you believe in independent journalism that's free and accessible to everyone. There are lots of different choices on the dial. You chose to land here. So think about why. This is your station. And now with federal funding for public media, not just cut, but gone, your gift to the Resiliency Fund helps us stay strong, independent, and more importantly, community-focused. Stand up for trusted journalism. Join your neighbors and give at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
We're so lucky because thousands of Houstonians have already stepped up to support this station. Have you? If you've never given before, now is the time. Your first donation helps close the gap by those federal funding cuts. You'll become a member and you'll help keep NPR, PBS, the programming you love, and of course local news free for everyone. Join us today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate, or you can call 888-909-0887. We'd love to welcome you here.
And we love to hear from you. We always say this station belongs to our community. And here is a comment that we received from someone in our community who just recently made their gift. Quote, I trust NPR for news, and I think it's vitally important to keep this going. I love Houston Matters and Hello Houston. I enjoy the variety of information I get from public radio, including environmental news and stories from around the world. I trust it. Thank you for that comment, and thank you for making your gift. Join us and become a member. And, an interesting point in what they just said there was, and I think this always needs to be shared, we do share stories from across the nation and around the world, but we give it with a Houston point of view, and we invite Houston voices in our area to share their opinions of these stories. So when we give an international story or a national story, it does matter to us here because we are a national and international city. So give right now to continue this kind of programming and journalism and become a member at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
And some members give monthly, others give one-time gifts, but they all help fuel Houston Public Media. Your gift in any amount goes directly into the programs and local reporting that keep you informed and connected. It's not about how much you give, it's that you choose to support the station you rely on and keep it going strong into the future. Choose an amount that works for you, whatever it takes. Make your gift right now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
I've been here at the station for just about 30 years, but that's just a part of it because for nearly 75 years, Houston Public Media has been dedicated to its mission to be the essential source for independent local journalism, local storytelling, and programs that inform, inspire, and engage all Houstonians. The Resiliency Fund ensures we continue that work and move closer to our vision of an engaged and well-informed community. It's most important that you understand the world and society you live in, what's going on, and what the truth of the matter is. And that's what we work at with you every day here. So stand with us. Give today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or give us a call right now. 888-909-0887. Thank you.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
I'm Stephen Dubner, host of Freakonomics Radio. Every week, Freakonomics Radio explores the hidden side of Well, everything from the economics of sleep to when is the best time to rob a bank. So tune in next time on Freakonomics Radio.
Freakonomics, Mondays at 9 p.m. on News 88.7.
Support comes from the Gilbert and Sullivan Society of Houston, presenting Iolanthe, a comic opera where fairies tangle with Parliament in a battle of love, law, and absurdity. July 19th through 27th at the Hobby Center, gilbertandsullivan.org.
A mostly sunny day today. We'll get up to about 97, then a slight chance of rain this afternoon. It's 88. Your NPR station, KUHF, Houston, News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, we'll continue diving into today's top stories, including Columbia University agreeing to pay more than $220 million as part of a deal to restore their federal funding. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm guest host Chow Win. We're also going to discuss U.S. Senator John Cornyn's support of the idea of building a facility like Alligator Alcatraz in Texas.
Plus, we'll also talk with Jake Bullock, founder and CEO of Cann, one of the first and largest THC beverage brands in the state, who will give us his thoughts on the possible THC ban.
And we want to hear from you, so do give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870, or you can email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel. Just go to houstonpublicmedia.org and click on the big orange banner.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Wrestling legend Hulk Hogan, who helped turn the WWE into a global phenomenon and became one of the most recognizable figures in pop culture, has died. He was 71 years old. The Clearwater Police Department in Florida confirmed his death on Facebook, writing that paramedics were dispatched to Hogan's home this morning in response to calls reporting a cardiac arrest. He was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. Under MAGA pressure for more transparency on the Epstein files, Trump administration allies and critics are looking to Ghislaine Maxwell for answers. The former associate of the wealthy businessman who was found dead in his jail cell in 2019 is serving a 20-year sentence in Florida for helping Epstein sexually abuse underage girls. The chairman of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, says the congressional panel plans to depose Maxwell.
I told Speaker Johnson last week, if we were in session this week, that Republicans on the Oversight Committee were going to move to be more aggressive in trying to get transparency with the Epstein files. So we did that, and I think that's what the American people want.
Speaker Mike Johnson adjourned the House yesterday, pushing out any action on the Epstein matter until after the August recess. Meanwhile, Comer says his committee is also moving quickly on formally issuing a subpoena to the Justice Department to release the full Epstein files, following a subcommittee vote yesterday. President Trump is set to visit the Federal Reserve this afternoon, this coming amidst a campaign from the president and his allies to hector Fed Chair Jerome Powell about interest rates and a major renovation of the Fed's Washington, D.C. building. NPR's Tamara Keith reports.
Trump has repeatedly charged that the Fed chair is too late in lowering interest rates. And then there's the renovation, which Trump allies suggest could be grounds for firing Powell. Here was Trump.
No, we're not planning on doing anything. We're very concerned. He's doing a little renovation for $2.5 billion of the Fed.
It is over budget.
And it's a shame, but the biggest cost overrun is the cost overrun for interest rates, because we should be paying 3 points lower.
The Fed chair, whose term ends next year, says he has no intention of quitting. This visit amps up Trump's pressure campaign, which threatens the Fed's independence. Tamara Keith, NPR News.
Russian aviation authorities are reporting the crash of a passenger plane in a remote region of the country's Far East. All of the nearly 50 passengers on board are feared dead. The commercial plane was en route from the far eastern city of Blagoveshnik to a remote town in the Amur region bordering China. The Dow is down more than 200 points at last check. This is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. Houston's plan for $315 million in federal recovery funds from last year's storms has been delayed by a week. The delay comes amid disagreement over the amount set aside for home repair under Mayor John Whitmire's current proposal. News 88.7's Dominic Anthony Walsh reports the administration is focused on resiliency at city facilities.
The proposal sets aside only $50 million for home repair, despite finding about $230 million in unmet housing needs in the aftermath of the storms. Councilmember Letitia Plummer delayed the vote by 1 week and says she'll introduce an amendment to help more people with damaged homes.
They need to get their houses repaired. Right now, people are living every single day in squalor because of issues that they dealt with.
Under the current plan, the bulk of the funds would go towards backup power generators at city facilities. Housing Committee Chair Tiffany Thomas also introduced an amendment to divert $50 million from that initiative towards home repairs. I'm Dominic Anthony Walsh, News 88.7.
The battleship Texas, America's sole surviving battleship to have served in both World Wars, has found a new home in the port of Galveston. Anthony Brown is with the Galveston Wharves Board.
Overall, I think we got to a good win-win for the port, for the community, and I think for the battleship Texas.
The board approved an operating agreement to dock the ship between cruise terminals at Pier 15. The battleship Texas is currently docked, undergoing repairs, and will relocate to its new home by next year. Expect another hot day today, high of around 98 degrees. With the humidity, it could feel closer to around 104 later this afternoon. It'll cool down tomorrow, though, thanks to heavy rain from a system in the Gulf. That system is looking like it won't develop into a tropical storm. The National Weather Service is still keeping the probability of that happening at 10%. That's the same as yesterday. And in sports, the Astros have now won 4 games in a row. They beat the Diamondbacks 4-3 yesterday, extending their lead over the Mariners for first place in the American League West Division. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include ARM, with the new podcast series Tech Unheard. ARM CEO Renee Haas talks to tech company leaders who are working to help shape the future of computing. Available on all podcast platforms.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870. Or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Oh, again, I have to disappoint some of our listeners who were hanging on every word that Frank or Celeste may say today because they have taken a much-needed vacation. But Chow Win is here with us.
I'm honored to be here, having a good time with you, the pro here, Ernie Manous.
Oh, please. Pro because I'm old. That's how you become pro. You've been here long enough, you become pro. We're also always interested in what you have to say. So our phone lines are open, 713-440-8870. You can call on any of the topics you heard in the first hour or what we introduce in this hour. You can also text us at the same number, 713-440-8870. 8870. Also, what we love to remind everyone, we're on YouTube. Yesterday we had a little trouble with the YouTube. They got it all working again, so you can watch us on YouTube, and there's always a really interesting chat that goes on over in the YouTube. So join us. Be part. I feel like I'm saying the YouTubes, like I'm the internet.
Well, it's interesting doing radio and now having that confluence of radio and YouTube is, you can see your anchors. You can see Ernie. You can see us. And
Sorry.
Gives us a little personalization too.
So please join us over there. We don't have Frank to give the weather, so we'll give our own weather report. It's hot, it's humid.
Yeah, it's hot, humid, and, dress for the occasion.
Yes, or don't, as the case may be. Coming up in this hour, in the first hour, we talked a bit about COVID and the COVID resurgence that's out there in the country right now. This time, we're going to take a deeper dive into the THC issues going on. There's a special legislative session going on right now that was called back into session initially because the ban on THC didn't take effect as Dan Patrick had wanted, our lieutenant governor, and our governor decided to veto it. So they're working on that legislation. But what does really that mean for the state, for you as an individual? We'll be taking your calls and questions and be talking with somebody from the industry about all that. But as always, we like to start off with news topics. Chow, take us away.
This is an interesting one when it comes to academia. Education Secretary Linda McMahon told News Nation today that she is pleased with the Trump administration's more than $222 million settlement with Columbia University. This agreement, you might recall, resolves a months-long standover after claims the school failed to protect Jewish students and staff during last year's pro-Palestinian protests on campus. McMahon called the settlement a big victory and big accomplishment for students and faculty. Now, as part of the agreement, Columbia will pay $200 million over the next 3 years and an additional $21 million to resolve alleged civil rights violations against those Jewish faculty members after the October 7th, 2023 Hamas attack on Israel, the White House said. So what are your thoughts on this settlement? I mean, this has been an issue that's been ongoing, the administration going after some of our top tier universities for these kinds of alleged violations. Call us. We want to hear from you at 713-440-8870.
For me, all of that, and the Columbia one I did not follow as closely as I have what's going on with Harvard. And it's interesting the use of pulling federal funding. Not that we know anything about that here at PBS. Of course, we had it cut because they wanted to cut the funding, not because we were going against some rules or regulations they had put in effect about free speech and how what should be protected and what shouldn't is what I feel like is going on here. And I'm concerned that there is litigation in these areas, and I'm concerned that monies and work that is being done is being pulled back as punishments. But I guess in some way that's how the legal system works. I'd love to know what our listeners think about this. I think the settlement is frighteningly high at $200 million. I wonder what damage and harm that's going to cause to the work Columbia could be doing or would be doing. 713-440-8870. But I also worry about the safety of students and faculty and that you shouldn't feel unsafe at your place of work and employment. But we do have free speech in this country. And as long as it is respectful, we need to protect it.
Yeah, and it seemed respectful, but with the administration sort of targeting Ivy League colleges, and you touched on something, Ernie, and that is when you pull valuable funding from these institutions, you're pulling things like valuable research when it comes to the medical community, when it comes to cancer, when it comes to all sorts of projects and research initiatives that are ongoing. So $220 million is a huge chunk of change for the institution, not to mention the staff, the faculty, the students that are being affected by this.
It's a difficult time when it comes to how we express ourselves, where we express ourselves, what we express ourselves saying. As a proponent, as I'm sure most of us are, of free speech, I value and protect that. But I also believe in the understanding that there is responsibility that comes with what you say. And you are responsible for what you have the right to say it, but you're also responsible for the impact it has. So it's a thicky wicket. What's that expression? I'm trying to think
look, peaceful protests have been going on at public universities, in institutions, private universities for decades.
I guess their concern is the word peaceful. And they felt that students were in danger, is how at least they're couching it. And therefore, they need to interact and protect. The validity of that, once again, I go back to concern of truthfulness in how we represent things.
And recall that the aftermath of some of this included students who were, so-called pro-Palestinian, activists being pulled from their dorms and deported. There was a lot of fallout as a result of the cuts in funding, as a result of Harvard University saying, nope, we're not going to back down. We're going to stand in the face of this. We're losing billions in funding, but we're going to sue. And we're not going to let the federal government come in and tell us how to govern our own institution and our university. And that, to me, seemed an infringement upon the rights of the university versus what the federal government is allowed to do.
Yeah. And what do you think about that? Give us a call, 713-440-8870. Over on YouTube, we often talk about the chats that go on over there. Here There wrote, I don't understand why the president seems to be so personally involved with pulling funding, which seems like a punishment for not aligning with his personal values. Beyond personal values, it is more the line of this is what his administration is saying are their values and how they feel things should behave and be done. And if you don't agree to these policies, then you have to pay the price. And that I think the argument that would come from the White House is we are not shutting down universities. We're just taking our federal funds and moving them to places that follow federal guidelines. You can continue to function how you want. It's kind of the same line they made about public broadcasting and the CPB. They were pulling federal funding for it. They weren't shutting the stations off. It's the same effect it has for a lot of smaller stations, and it does harm larger stations like ours. But their argument being, you can say whatever you want, but we're not going to pay for it. And I think that's the same philosophy here.
And with the news that that Columbia University is going to pay this settlement, one has to wonder if universities, other universities, will follow and say we're going to pay a fine because we really need the support of the federal government to move forward with our programs, with our research, et cetera.
Yeah. Let us know what you think. 713-440-8870. Let's bring it a little closer to home with the next story.
Okay. All right. We're looking at, and all eyes are on Texas and Austin right now with a special session. But now we're hearing from U.S. Senator John Cornyn, who says he wants to see a facility like Alligator Alcatraz in Texas. And we've seen those photos of those people in Florida taking pictures by that sign. Now, Cornyn made those comments in reference to a new immigration detention center in Florida, that one in the Everglades. That was surrounded by swamps filled with alligators. It's a remote location. It's meant to deter illegal immigration. Florida officials built the facility in just a few days using heavy-duty tents, trailers, temporary buildings. Right now, it's supposed to hold about 3,000 people, and they want to expand it to 5,000. They say it's an effective way to carry out the mass deportation agenda set forth by Donald Trump. Well, during a Senate hearing on immigration this week, Cornyn said he'd like to do something similar in Texas. And this is what he says. He says the state of Florida has stepped up to the plate recently, helping the administration to open a detention facility that's come to be known as Alligator Alcatraz. I'm hopeful that other states will step up to help in similar ways. If we can find a way to make something like this work in Texas, I would strongly support it. So, would you strongly support something like an Alligator Alcatraz that's supposed to not only deter illegal immigration, but to hold detainees in a place that might be just remote and dangerous? We're looking at a cost of Florida taxpayers paying about $450 million a year. Would you be in support? Call us at 713-440-8870.
This one bothers me.
Well, as a refugee immigrant, it bothers me greatly.
Yeah. It bothers me that in Florida they have it, in that our senator would talk about it in such glowing lights and wish they could have one here too. It is interesting, though, in the way he worded it, in saying, if we could find a way to make something like this work in Texas, I would strongly support it. So I'm not sure what he means by make it work. Does he mean changes to it, less, we don't have Everglades here, so what would he do? Because they always find ways to finesse the wording here, and they can always come back and say, I said make it work like a real prison system and all that. So I don't know. I don't want to jump to read his mind and what he's saying, but the concept of Alligator Alcatraz as it is in Florida seems dangerous, seems seems something third world country-ish, not something for the United States of America.
Well, it just seems like, okay, we are building a border wall to the tunes of billions. Now our senator is supporting additional facilities to house undocumented immigrants in their detention. There are other solutions than building walls and facilities to house them in what sounds like in Florida, not great conditions, heavy-duty tents, trailers, temporary buildings. And we've heard the news coming out of these detention facilities. They're not so humane. As a social worker, as somebody who is an immigrant to this country, as a refugee and political asylum, seeking political asylum my entire family. I was only 2 years old. There is a path to citizenship that we really should explore, a legal path, a responsible path. But then on the flip side, there's also human dignity. Mm-hmm. And I would hope that, when I see you and you see me, we are human beings trying to make a better life for ourselves. Immigrants are not criminals. The majority of them come here to better their lives. And you better believe it, Ernie, if I was an immigrant and I'm a mother of 2 girls and I was desperate to leave my country because of persecution, because of crime, because of threats of violence, and I come here, I would do anything at all costs to make a better life. And that's what I see with our great immigrant community in, our state of Texas, around the country. Let's just not criminalize undocumented. Let's not put the, face of fear in them. And it really, really concerns me when we hear our elected leaders say, let's just build more detention facilities and house them so we can ship them out of the country.
Yeah. If you have a thought, feeling, an opinion on this, please share it with us now at 713-440-8870. We were talking a few minutes ago, as you brought up the story about Columbia University and the settlement against them. We've got some calls coming in for that. They called us at 713-440-8870. Lynn from Cyprus, what's on your mind, Lynn?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to know, my question is, what do they do with the money that these institutions are paying in fines, institutions, law firms, whoever? Where does that money go? Do they use it to buy down the deficit? Do they use it to hire more oxygen? Do they use it to buy more gold toilets for the White House? I want to know what they do with that money.
Lynn, thank you for your call. It was a little hard to hear. I think you're driving at the same time that you were chatting with us in a slightly loud car. But thank you for that, wanting to know where the money goes that they're collecting in these fines.
It's a valid question. And truthfully, $220 million is paltry compared to our national debt that hovers in the trillions. So we'll have to be curious about how to follow that money trail.
That's the thing that fascinates me about the recent budget cuts that just got approved through Congress at the same time that the big, beautiful bill is being passed, which a lot of folks say will add to our deficit. They're doing a massive cut, which is actually such a tiny percentage of what needs to be cut. And they're going after the small, low-hanging fruits instead of going after the big contracts, the big amounts of money that are being spent. It doesn't all work on the balance sheet, I don't think so. We also have a call, 713-440-8870 from Robert at Dayton. Robert, what's on your mind?
Yeah, as far as Colombia, anytime something about freedom of speech comes up, and Trump's involved and the ACLU isn't, you can figure Trump's playing politics.
Thank you for that. There is a lot of politics in this, and I think we've come to expect that's how it works up there. Robert, thank you for your call, and it is kind of fascinating, and I don't have anything more to say about that part of it. We got a text. Did you see the text that came in?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Javier in Cyprus says, so the U.S. and Texas does not have money to feed the impoverished, provide affordable health care, increase wages, but we actually have the funds for concentration camps to detain minorities without due process. And yes, they are detaining U.S. citizens based on the color of their skin until they can prove they are U.S. citizens. Absolutely disgusting that our nation has come to this.
I'm assuming Javier does not support doing one in Texas.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, Ernie, recently I was coming back from out of the country and I had my passport in my hand, and I gave it to Customs. And the Customs officer looked at me holding my passport and said, "Are you a U.S. citizen?" And I thought, Well, you're holding
my
my
passport.
Yeah, and so it does, as an immigrant who is a naturalized citizen, in that moment I thought, I wonder if he's wondering if, I'm legitimate. I don't know. I mean, a
When
lot of
you even
immigrants think that.
say you're a naturalized citizen, do you have fear with what's going on today?
I think anything's on the table with anybody who has naturalization, who speaks out. I think there are a lot of people in our communities who are concerned about that.
Yeah. If you have a thought, a comment you want to share with us, give us a call, 713-440-8870. Quickly, I want to hit a couple of what we call our tidbits, because today is National Intern Day, and we have an intern that works with us, Asher Templewood, who we love here. And so happy National Intern Day. Unfortunately, he's feeling sick, and after listening to Dr. Troisi's segment, he asked if he could go home early.
A scratchy throat.
He's
Look,
worried about it.
interns in my career, I've had some of the most fabulous interns, Allie Smith, Heather Allman. I mean, the list goes on. And they've all risen to establish great careers. Interns are just the best, and hopefully we continue to have them here and at other institutions and
Absolutely.
organizations.
If you call into the show, the person screening your calls is one of our producers. Garrett Bowman usually does that task on the show each day. He started here as my intern and then worked his way up into being a producer on the show. So we do value our interns. Thank you. Celebrate them if you're listening. It is National Intern Day. And if you want to bring two together, it's also National Tequila Day. So maybe you can combine those two into one event. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about THC. We're going to take a look at what's going on in the legislature, but also we're going to speak with the owner and CEO, founder and CEO of one of the first and largest THC beverage brands in our state. That's coming up. Plus your calls, questions, comments, 713-440-8870. This is News 88.7. We're coming to you today with an emergency fundraiser because we learned, as we all did last Friday, that federal funding for public media was cut. And Houston Public Media, for us, that means $2.2 million lost to our annual budget. I'm not talking about across the system. I'm not talking about the big cuts that we heard about for CPB. I'm talking about the direct it had on this station right here in our own community. $2.2 million. That's 10% of our operating budget. Think about it. If suddenly you were told today or tomorrow, 10% of what you have as a family is gone, but we still expect you to do and deliver the same things you always have. Feed your children, pay for housing, all of that. We face that too here, and that's why we're turning to you. We have launched our resiliency fund so we can continue to do the work you depend on, deliver trusted journalism and local programming without interruption. Make your gift right now if you can at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887. I'm Ernie Manous here with Chow In.
You know, Ernie, these federal funding cuts are significant, but we are taking action here to ensure that our service remains strong. This resiliency fund protects everything you, the listener, values, from NPR News to more than 15 hours each week of Houston-focused programming like Hello Houston. Support our essential work now. Be a part of it at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
You hear us say this all the time. Your support powers public media. And it's true. But it's just not about keeping the lights on. It's about funding fact-based local reporting and stories that matter. We have a vibrant newsroom, one of the biggest ones in our area, that gets out there and gets the stories of our communities and shares them, not just with us locally, but also across the state and nationally. Our reports air, meaning that the interests and concerns of our community are heard far and wide, thanks to your help and support. So with federal funding for public media, not just cut, but eliminated, your donation to the Resiliency Fund is more important than ever. You can be part of this important work by making your donation today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or by calling 888-909-0887.
Maybe you're listening and you've thought about giving, but you haven't taken the first step yet. Well, why wait? Now is the time. Become a new member of Houston Public Media. It's quick and easy. And today, your support helps close that gap left by federal funding cuts. Join the community that values fact-based news and local storytelling. Make your first gift now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
We understand not everyone in our community is in the position to give, but if you are, consider giving for yourself, and maybe you're in the position to also give in remembrance of someone else or to help out someone else in our community. Make that gift at whatever level you can. Remember, every voice, every gift, every comment adds up to something powerful. And we love reading all the comments coming through here. Here's one, okay? I listen to Hello Houston every day. It's entertaining and, all caps, informative. Thanks for that comment. If you listen to Hello Houston every day, now is the time to show your support. Make your gift now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
You know, our members give in all kinds of ways, one time, monthly. Every one of them plays a role, a significant role in keeping this station strong. Your donation, no matter the size, helps pay for the trusted news and programs you count on. We use your gift efficiently and with purpose to serve you and your community. Make your gift right now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or of course, call us 888-909-0887.
With your support, we can keep this mission alive and build a community that's informed, inspired, and connected. Go to houstonpublicmedia.org/donate to give now.
On the next Science Friday, you might think that kids these days have a sense of humor that's unintelligible, but Algo Speak deserves a closer look.
Right now, if I say Labubu, 24 karat, Dubai chocolate, matcha, whatever, that's funny because it's repeating this overconsumptive language, critiquing our consumer behaviors.
How technology is changing how we talk. That's on Science Friday from WNYC Studios.
You can hear that tomorrow starting at 1.
I'm Anthony Brooks. Have you ever heard someone say, music saved my life? That's what many people say when talking about the power of music to heal. Music can reduce stress and anxiety, improve brain function, even help people with Alzheimer's disease. How music therapy works, next time on Here and Now.
That's coming up at 1 p.m.
Houston Public Media brings to you PBS World, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on TV 8.6. Experience the personal connection behind the headlines with programming devoted to telling stories that humanize complex issues. PBS World helps us understand the movements, conflicts, and cultures that connect us all. PBS World on TV 8.6 and online at houstonpublicmedia.org.
Support comes from UTHealth Houston, home to maternal fetal specialist Dr. Jerry Refuerzo, who helps keep moms and babies healthy and safe through high-risk pregnancies and births. More at uth.edu/manyfaces.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Alley Theater, presenting Agatha Christie's The Mirror Cracked, a mystery where everyone becomes the suspect of a murder in a web of jealousy and hidden truths. Tickets and more at alleytheater.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous and guest host Chow Wen.
Well, as Texas lawmakers convene for the special legislative session, the future of THC-infused products hang in the balance. After vetoing a proposed total THC ban, Governor Greg Abbott has said he only wants to ban intoxicating THC products. It's a move that could reshape a booming $10 billion hemp industry right here in Texas. But a Texas Senate committee has already advanced a new bill that bans all THC products during the session, setting up another showdown between lawmakers and the governor. It sounds like the committee is doubling down on this issue. Joining us today to discuss, Jake Bullock. He is the founder and CEO of Cann. That is Cann. He is one of the first and largest THC beverage brands in the state. Jake is also a founding member of the Coalition for Adult Beverage Alternatives. Jake, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I guess the place to start right now, you being in the industry and well connected to all of this, what do you think is going to happen in the legislative session? What's your feeling? I'm sure you folks talk to legislators and trying to figure out where people are voting, what's going to happen. What do you think the outcome is going to be here?
Yeah, it feels a little bit like deja vu, right? We were just down this road in the regular session, and there was a ban bill passed through the Senate, and it was forced through the House and went to the governor's desk, and the governor said, nope, I don't think that a ban is the right policy here, and encouraged lawmakers to figure out a different solution. And I think, we're hopeful that they actually go do that. They take the governor's message and they try to figure out how to regulate the safest products that are out there. And there are many products like ours, which are 2 milligram of THC drinks. They kind of like the strength of a light beer. People drink them instead of alcohol. They feel better the next day. Like, how do we regulate those products? And then let's ban the really dangerous ones, which we all know. They're synthetic. They're marketed to kids. They have chemicals in them that we can't understand the health effects of, right? Those products everyone agrees. We agree with Lieutenant Governor Patrick. We agree with Senator Perry. Should be banned. But let's not ban everything. That doesn't make sense either.
Jake, I understand conservative Republicans are also very, very against recreational use of these products. And your company touts that this is fun, right? This is an alternative to alcohol and it's not as big a buzz, et cetera. How do you respond to that your product is a recreational use, yet it should be allowed? Maybe that's the elephant in the room that we're not talking about, because a lot of the talk in the special session during the legislative session was about medicinal purposes, helping veterans, chronic pain, et cetera.
It's a great question, and one we get quite often. Our products are adult beverages. We actually know a lot about adult beverages and how to regulate them. We've been doing it for almost 100 years. And what's interesting in this case is the alcohol beverage industry and the supply chain in Texas are raising their hands and saying, not only can we regulate these products, again, the lowest potency, safest drinks that are out on the market, products like ours, but we're really good at it. We've been doing it for a long time, and we're doing it now in Texas today. Our products are sold in over 500 liquor retailers across the state. We're in all the Total lines in the state of Texas, and adults are walking into those stores every day. They're safely purchasing these products. These are products that we test. Every single can has a barcode on it. You can scan. You can look up the exact test results for that product. So this is being regulated today by the good actors in Texas. I don't think that should be the focus of lawmakers. The focus of lawmakers should be on the dangerous products, on the synthetic products, on those highly potent products, those ones that are disguised as candy and marketed to kids. We all agree that those products should not be allowed.
Looking at this, and you can help me if I'm misinterpreting it, but seeing what the Texas Senate has already advanced as far as this new bill, it looks like they're just going down the same road again, that they didn't make any changes to it. And so I'm wondering, is your emphasis, your hope for the change, is it that the governor is going to veto it again, or have you seen some changing among members of the legislature that is going to come to a more gentle position on this?
I'm optimistic that we will come to some set of sensible regulations. We want Texas lawmakers to pass a bill here. It is not a good outcome for anybody to revert back to what many are talking about as the wild, wild west, where these products are being sold and can be sold to minors. No one wants that. We need rules. The question is really, where do you draw the line? The governor got at that a little bit earlier this week when he said, I want, the really intoxicating stuff out, and I want the not intoxicating stuff to stay. Well, how do you measure that? Like, what is intoxicating? If you drink one of my 2 milligram drinks, I can tell you what, for most Texans, it's not intoxicating. If you drink 5, it most definitely would be. So where do you draw the line is an important question in front of lawmakers. And what we hope they do is they talk to all the constituents, right? They talk to farmers, they talk to veterans, they talk to the businesses that have been in this space, many for 7-8 years now. And they listen to what they have to say, and they decide where to draw the line. This is how the system works. The Senate has a view that's putting the bill forward. We anticipate the House will have a different view. Let's pass those bills. Let's come together and come to a compromise that makes sense for Texans.
Have you folks in the Coalition for Adult Beverages, have you folks spoken with Dan Patrick or his office to try and find somewhere that you can begin the conversation at that level? Because it seems as though if he could soften some on it, the pack would go with him.
I think that's probably right. We're trying to meet with anyone who will meet with us. And the Coalition of Adult Beverages is really unique in that we're talking about just drinks. We believe drinks are different, not only because they're low potency, not only because all the drink brands that are a member of the Coalition of Adult Beverage Alternatives are testing their products today. They're adhering to potency caps. They're all using naturally derived from the hemp plant extracts, no synthetics. These are part of our code of conduct that aren't just things that we say, they're things that we do. And that really makes the organization different. And I think it makes it a trusted advisor here, hopefully, to lawmakers as they try to decide, again, where to draw that line.
Jake, the stakes are so high, a $10 billion hemp industry, and you're talking about an all or nothing ban, right? What happens next? What if there is a ban? What happens to, businesses like yours and the dozens, if not hundreds, of businesses that employ those in the hemp industry?
It's a great question, and it's actually pretty easy to answer. We all leave. Sadly, we go away. The part of what defines a good actor is we comply with the law. So if a ban comes through and the Texas lawmakers decide to throw the baby out with the bathwater here, all the good actors go away. Guess who doesn't go away? The bad actors. The 100 milligram sour gummy worm products, the Delta 9 Oreo products that are marketed to kids, they stay and they go underground. They go to the cartels. The benefit of a regulation in this space is really one that crowds out the bad actors. Let there be a permissible amount of THC in drinks and other products that are low potency, that are the lowest risk, that we can regulate, and that the alcohol supply chain is raising their hand saying they can regulate. That will have a crowding out effect that will push all of these other products away. Veterans will be able to get these drinks if they want them in liquor stores. That's a really powerful thing. If you don't have that, it gets really scary really fast. We saw this in California. California banned hemp products. And if you go into any smoke shop in California, you'll find the most dangerous products on the shelves. What you won't find are products like Cann.
You talk about the bad actors, and the THC has been legal for a while here in our state, and the bad actors were still here. Are you thinking that regulations is what will help do away with the bad element, or is it just going to be you'll have to coexist together if it is legalized?
So Texas needs regulations, right? There's some obvious ones. These products should not be sold to minors, 21 plus. We know that. There needs to be clear testing and labeling guidelines. The businesses will do this. We test every one of our products, even though it's not required today in Texas. Every product we sell in Texas is tested. Put that burden on the businesses, and it makes really easy for law enforcement. They go into the store, they see a hemp product. If it doesn't have test results linked, to a QR code that are easily accessible, that product is in violation and comes off the shelf. Those types of regulations are really effective in other states. We're seeing a number of states, in many states throughout the Southeast, that pass regulatory bills that make sense, that don't, these are not bans. They're allowed in states like Tennessee and Kentucky, Alabama, Georgia. And so we really kind of encourage those types of policies as a way forward here for Texas.
We are speaking with Jake Bullock, who is the founder and CEO of Cann. He's also a founding member of the Coalition for Adult Beverage Alternatives, talking about THC and products that have it in it here in our state and the regulations that are going on in the legislation that's debating it right now. If you want to join the conversation, give us a call at 713-440-8870. A weird question, and coming from someone who doesn't partake of any of this. If you're not going to get a buzz, why drink your drink?
People find that one of the most important things about social beverage is having a beverage in your hand. And so, just like you wouldn't really get that strong of an effect if you had half a glass of wine or a light beer, there's something social about it, right? I'm sitting across from you. You may be having a cocktail. I may be having a can. One of our friends may be having a light beer, and we're all socializing together. I think that's an important part of why beverages are different. It's also important to note that you have to drink the entire drink to get the 2 milligrams of THC. And in that way, beverages are also different, right? I think that's not true of some of these other form factors, the most dangerous form factors that folks are talking about and worry about. We generally agree. And 99% of the products that are really sort of scary from a potency standpoint, these are being made today in Texas with manufactured synthetic THC derivatives. That's not something that we do. We use only naturally occurring CBD and THC from the hemp plant. And I think that's another important reason why we need regulation here is we should ban the synthetic products. We don't have thousands of years of history of safety data around what those compounds do inside the body, where we do with THC and CBD.
It sounds like you're advocating for responsible hemp usage. I'm curious on how you counter the messaging that using such products might be a gateway to further abuse, addiction. I know that there doesn't seem to be indicators of such, but that information is out there among lawmakers, among the public.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things to note. The first is responsible consumption of these products. What does that really mean? It means don't consume them very frequently and don't consume them in high potency amounts. Products like ours are great because it's 2 milligrams in a can. Maybe you have a couple cans. That's never going to even get close to the amount from a potency standpoint that should have you worried. So that's the first and most important thing. The second thing I would say is a lot of when people talk about gateway drugs and loop in cannabis and THC into that conversation are missing a bigger picture. That often what's happening is folks are turning to THC products because that is what's most available. And these products are wildly available. I mean, to ask anybody in Texas, whether it's an illicit market or it's sold to the legal hemp market, THC is here to stay. It's not going away. Like the idea that by banning hemp, all of a sudden Texas will no longer have THC, I think is a little silly to me. It will just go underground. It will go to the cartels like we've talked about. The bigger question is, are we providing the responsible treatment and therapy options for young folks, especially that are struggling with mental health issues, which are struggling with other issues where they might turn to a THC product to try to get relief. I think that's often what, when there's studies that are done in this space, that they find that folks are self-medicating and they're turning to what's most available. Many people are turning to alcohol today to do that as well. And I think the way that we solve that is with responsible, moderate consumption and with alternative treatment and therapeutic options for folks that are struggling with mental health issues.
I know folks that get these products mailed to them from other states. If the ban goes into effect here in this state, does that limit the availability of it being mailed into the state, or can those companies still provide it here in this state without it being illegal?
No, our understanding is this ban would prevent any sales in the state, whether those would be in a liquor store, for example, or through the mail online.
But you're not, well, I don't know. I'm thinking, but you're not buying it in this state, you're buying it in another state, and they're just sending it to you, and that's through the federal mail system. And I wonder if that becomes a difficult beast to deal with. Yeah, you highlight an important issue, right, which is other states are allowing hemp products, and they're allowing hemp products with THC. And I think something like 22 states have passed laws since Minnesota kicked this whole thing off a few years ago. Almost all of them have decided to draw the line of THC allowed in products somewhere other than 0. In some cases it's 2, 3, 4 milligrams. In other cases it's 5, 10, 20 milligrams. And each state is making a different call there. But again, these products aren't going away. This is federally legal. And so Texas is going to have to reckon with them one way or another. I think the responsible thing to do is write their own laws. Let's come to a compromise here that makes folks happy. There, like I say, there's really good interests on the side of Senator Perry and Lieutenant Governor Patrick on this. We do not want highly potent synthetic gummy candies being marketed to kids anywhere for sale. And let's figure out the best way to get rid of those products, but also protect the products that are really having a transformative impact in adults' lives. I mean, I can tell you all sorts of amazing stories. Like we said, we're not a health product, we're not making health claims, but you would be blown away by the folks that reach out to us. I mean, especially our senior population, 70 plus, that are drinking this instead of alcohol, waking up without inflammation. And they're saying it's the most unbelievable thing. I feel good in the morning for the first time. That's pretty amazing. Small things, but powerful things. Yeah. If you have thoughts, comments, want to join in, have an opinion on this, give us a call, 713-440-8870.
We have a YouTube question from Here There. Delta 9 is marketed as natural and not synthetic. Is this true? I don't know.
Yeah, so Delta 9 refers to the very specific chemical compound, Delta 9 THC. And this is primarily in products like ours, extracted directly from the hemp plant in an extraction process. There is also a way to synthetically manufacture Delta 9, Delta 8. You may have heard some of these others, THCO, CBDO, THCV, THCA. It's a whole alphabet soup of various cannabinoids that can be synthetically manufactured through a chemical conversion process in a lab. This is what we talk about when we say synthetic. This is what we talk about when we say we don't do it. And we also agree that the synthetic products are largely the 99% of the problem that we're talking about here. And so a sensible regulation that includes banning synthetics should work.
Okay.
Jake, thank you very much for sharing this with us. I think you'll probably be following this story very closely. And
yes, indeed.
As we hear more out of Austin, I hope you'll come back and join us and help us make sense of what we're learning and what's moving forward.
Yeah, good luck to you.
Yeah, happy to come back anytime. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a break, but we're going to come up with current obsessions, right? We're going to talk about that?
We're going to talk about our current obsessions. We want to know your current obsessions. Give us a call, 713-440-8870. What's your current obsession? It's that thing that you can't stop talking about, watching, thinking about, listening to. Share them with us. We need tips on what to do with our weekend, too, especially if it's going to be rainy around here. All right, there's more of Hello Houston coming up right after the break, along with our current obsessions.
I'm Jeremy Hobson. Next time on The Middle, the U.S. national debt currently stands at over $36 trillion, and President Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill is expected to add to that rather than reducing it. Higher interest rates means that just servicing that debt is getting very expensive, and economists of all stripes seem to agree that we have a problem. So what should be done to reduce the national debt? That's next time on The Middle.
You can hear that tonight. It's on at 8 p.m.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Uptown Appliance, serving the Houston and Dallas areas with appliance services for multiple brands. Technicians provide long-term care and services. More at uptownappliance.com.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from attorney mediator Ron Bankston, providing in-person, video conferencing, and hybrid mediation and arbitration services. More information is available at ronbankston.com.
Support comes from St. Luke's Health and St. Luke's Foundation, supporting clinical excellence, compassionate care, and a healthier future for all. More at supportstlukes.org. Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Houston Public Library Foundation, opening doors to discovery this summer through educational programs, books, and digital tools for everyone. More at houstonlibraryfoundation.org. Support for Houston Public Media comes from Houston Public Works. Water running into the street or sidewalks is avoidable. Checking sprinkler heads and fixing leaks will prevent unnecessary runoff. Every drop counts. More at givewaterabreak.org. Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Texas Mutual Insurance Company, a workers' compensation provider committed to helping Texas communities and emphasizing safety. More at texasmutual.com/TexansGetIt.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous and guest host Chow Wen.
You are listening to Hello Houston, and we are having quite a day today. I'm learning a lot today, but you know what I did learn? I learned about what your recent current obsession is. So we want to open this up to all of you. Do you have an obsession? Do you have something you just can't wait to leave work to get home to keep watching, or you've cleared your weekend so you can finish viewing it, or something you're listening to, you can't walk away from your car when you get to work because you want to finish listening? What is your current obsession? All right.
Well, this is a forced current obsession. I will. That was my disclaimer. My 15-year-old and many teenagers across this country have been obsessed with a show called Love Island. It's season 7 or whatever, and so I watched it. I binge watched 38 episodes.
Oh my Lord.
And it's it's young couples. So think of it, Ernie, as like when you and I used to be in our young 20s. There was like MTV Spring Break. It's that kind of feel, like young adults,
2 years ago,
scantily clad, living on an island in Fiji, and all like trying to figure out who their partner is going to be. And yes, that was a waste of 38 episodes and time that I cannot take back. But I
so
did
what
that.
What is it that pulls you in?
Well, I did that for my daughter because I knew she was watching it. I didn't really know what she was watching, and her friends are all talking about it. I think there are some segments of the show they talk about relationships. I think teenagers really like that dynamic. The other dynamic I did not like, which was, a little bit questionable and racy, was they would do these contests in which they would make out and, try to pick partners, and they're all in their young 20s. And so, no, that was time that I cannot take back. It was a forced obsession, but now I understand, and I chalk it up to at least I understand what young people in pop culture is doing right now and the language they use, because, young people have their own language.
Yeah.
Words, riz, these kind of words, and I watched it and observed that. So maybe it wasn't a waste of 38 hours of my life.
You learned something.
What's yours?
Mine right now, and I may have mentioned this before, I can't remember which obsessions I share and which ones I don't. Dexter. I'm into the new season of Dexter.
There's a new season.
There's a new one, Dexter Resurrection.
What, he comes back?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
If you haven't been watching Dexter, then I'm sorry if we spoiled something there, but we kind of thought Dexter wrapped up at the end of Dexter.
Yeah.
Then we thought Dexter wrapped up at the end of New Blood. Well, Dexter's back again. He's in Resurrection. I guess the title gives it away. I do want to quickly mention before we run out of time, we did get one from YouTube. There says their current obsession, the 4-season reboot on Netflix. I saw that. Yeah. Ernie, wish you would have been having a watch party on it like the one you hosted after Downton Abbey. I watched a little of the 4 seasons, didn't get hooked right away, but I'll give it another check since There thinks it's something worth our time. Something that's always worth your time is the time you spend with us, and we appreciate it. We don't take it for granted here at Hello Houston. We hope you'll join us back here again tomorrow with more topics, more issues, more thoughts shared with you. Thanks for listening, and Chow, thanks for sitting in today.
Been so much fun. Have me back. I'll be back anytime.
You're listening to News 88.7. Thank you for listening to Houston Public Media. We're coming to you today with an emergency fundraiser because federal funding for public media was cut. And for Houston Public Media, that means $2.2 million loss every year moving forward, 10% of our budget. That's why we launched the Resiliency Fund, to make sure that we can continue to give you access to reliable, fact-based information and local stories that matter to our city. You're keeping us strong by supporting us right now, by giving to the Resiliency Fund now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate, or by calling 888-909-0887. I'm Ernie Manous, and I'm here with John Wen.
Well, you've turned to NPR during big national moments, stories, and to Houston Public Media for local stories that hit closer to home, most recently the Kerrville floods. With $2.2 million in annual federal support to Houston Public Media now gone, your support through the Resiliency Fund helps preserve these trusted programs, vital programs, including more than 15 hours of local content each and every week.
That's an important point you bring up. So much of what you see, even from other local outlets, is being produced nationally and just shipped in, repackaged and resold to us as our local coverage. Here we have a local newsroom staffed, very well staffed, with people who are out in our community. They live in our community and they are covering our community. And that's the information we share with you. And you trust us for that information and for the facts, for stories that make sense of the world we live in. Today, we're asking you to take the next step and make your gift to Houston Public Media. With federal funding now gone, your support of the Resiliency Fund is crucial. Your donation funds the reporting and the conversations you rely on. And it makes us sure that everyone in Greater Houston has access to trusted news. So make your gift today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or give us a call, 888-909-0887.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That is why you are listening. Now take the next step, become a new member. Your first gift helps fill the funding gap left by these federal cuts, and it keeps public media strong for all. It only takes a minute to make a huge difference. Join today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
When you support Houston Public Media, you're not just making a donation. You're joining a movement for independent journalism and trusted storytelling. And you're not alone. Take a message from a listener who made a donation, called and said, "I love Hello Houston, especially when Frank Billingsley says what's on his and my mind." Well, donor, we know a lot more about you now, too. We love reading these comments, and we want to read more. Make your gift now, and when you do, leave a comment. Do it at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate. You can also make your donation by giving us a call. You can call us at 888-909-0887. The important thing, no matter how you do it, is that you do it, and you do it now at whatever level is comfortable for you. Please make that gift.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altide, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Hi, I'm Manoush Zamarodi, and our world is changing so fast. On the TED Radio Hour, we invite innovators, researchers, and activists to unpack those changes with us.
Just about all companies are becoming technology companies or technology-enabled companies.
Listen to the TED Radio Hour from NPR every week for conversations that will deepen your understanding of our changing world.
Donations come in many forms: a monthly membership, a one-time gift, and that extra vehicle you no longer need.